human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
When some wild-eyed eight-foot-tall maniac grabs your neck, taps the back of your favorite head up against a barroom wall, he looks at Chris in the eye and he asks if you've paid your dues.
Inconceivable! Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hey, it's Geek Public Radio right here on geekpublicradio.com. For those of you wanting to know, yes, it's GPR, the podcast. I am sitting in our brand new house, which is a huge, huge pain in the ass. And I'm sitting here with Stafford. What's up, Stafford?
No, what's up?
We were sitting here having an interesting conversation before the before we clicked the record button on.
Before the doohickey worked right?
Before the doohickey worked right, yeah.
I think it's my anti-technology field, but, whatever.
But we were discussing, after a few beverages, speaking of which, those of you who know, you can't open one without doing it on the mic. It's a rule. Huh? I don't make this stuff up. Like, if you open a beverage, you got to do it on a mic.
Well, what if it comes in a glass? I just got to slurp?
There you go.
All right, works for me.
But, so, we were talking, what happens to the MCU with the Spider-Man stuff if Sony lays an egg?
Yeah, we were talking for like 20 minutes before we realized that we hadn't hit record. Well, I don't know. It's based on what you just read me about now. I mean, you if you want to surmise that,
So what it is apparently from what I've read, and this is recent as of like a couple weeks ago, Marvel has its toys, and they share rights for Spidey, while Sony retains all rights to his bad guys. They're only sharing Spidey. So anything that happens with Spidey technically can impact the MCU. But since it exists all in the same universe, whatever, his bad guys who play in a separate sandbox, i.e. Sony's sandbox, technically that could influence what happens in the Marvel movies because it's all in the same... Like, if you have Venom goes through and tears down buildings in Chicago or in New York...
Then those buildings should be down in the Marvel universe, in the cinematic universe. Because
they're all tied together.
I don't understand how you can have two separate sandboxes
for one character.
And have you've got these two little playgrounds in one big sandbox. How are they not going to affect each other?
The whole purpose of the story was asking the same question that I was asking.
So I don't. I would have assumed that they had. Man, that's a legal headache. Honestly, I mean, I didn't realize that
Kevin and Amy have came out and talked or whatever, and they say they think it can happen, that it's no problem. They worked out all the rights and this, that, and the other. But
everything looks good on paper. But the first time that they do something with Spider-Man, that Marvel's like, no, you're going to have a giant pissing match, and then it's going to go legal and. I think that's a huge mistake.
The rest of the question is what happens if Sony just lays an egg with all of that stuff? I mean, because they don't have the best track record with
anything
with Spider-Man stuff. Outside of the first one, outside of the Raimi.
Right. Outside what Raimi had a hold of. Those were okay, but man, Oh my Lord!
But you know what I'm saying? So it's like, what happens if they just totally botch and create something that Marvel doesn't want anything to do with?
You know, I'm gonna put it to you this way: it's gonna happen. There's gonna be a big screw up, something that's gonna be will get snuck in, and it will cause problems. And it's going to be Sony that causes the chafing that brings down the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
You think it'll be that bad?
I think it could be. I mean, it could be. There could be something, and it could be dang near anything. Just there'll be one thing that will cause friction between Marvel Studios and between Sony. And that's going to be where it starts, and then it's going to be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then other things are going to happen. Somebody's going to do something just to piss off Feige. You know, that's the kind of stuff you can see happening there. People just try to one-up one another. And it could get that bad. Gotta hope. You know what? I'm going to put it this way. I don't care. I don't care as long as it happens after the Infinity War stuff's done. That has been since 2008, and I heard that they were shooting for Infinity War as soon as they have the entire Infinity Crisis set done. Anything that happens beyond that, because I've seen timelines that show that they're making like Black Panther 3 or some shit. 2025. I don't care about that timeline. I might not even live to see that. But I want to see Infinity Crisis dealt with. So as long as it gets to that point, then Marvel Studios has done something that's never really been attempted before, and they've pulled it off so far pretty flawlessly. I have heard
sheer force of will,
right? And I have heard that there have been some issues, some grumblings over people trying to figure out when Spider-Man Homecoming happened, because it's saying that some aspects of the movie happened at the same. I don't know. There was some. I haven't seen the movie, but I've read and heard something about there was a big deal about it happening. Something happening, like a 4-year timeline. Something it was off. So people are like, "Well, did this happen in 2016? Because that's when the movie was made, or is it supposed to be in 2020?" So now there's an issue with the timeline that hasn't been mopped up yet. I don't know the specifics. I don't like to say I haven't seen the movie. But I've seen on the interwebs the grumblings of people like, well, there's a timeline problem. Could this bring down everything? And, as long as I get to see the Infinity Crisis done, there's the individual movies, if the universe starts falling apart, I kind of don't care. Because I can watch Guardians of the Galaxy. We all really enjoyed that. I can watch Guardians of the Galaxy. I can watch individual, if they make another Iron Man. I can watch the individual movies, and they don't have to relate to each other for me to enjoy them. It would be great if they did. I think what they've done is spectacular. But if it all falls apart, Marvel can still take what they have licensed to, what they have, what they own. They can still do it the best they can. And then now everybody will just know that Sony's the evil empire. I mean, and who didn't realize that anyway? But
right,
they're not the evil empire. That would be that would be Fox.
But I say, and I said it before, pre-radio being correctly working.
Yeah, before we double stopped, double played or double recorded, whatever it was.
I don't agree with the fact that they originally signed their rights over in perpetuity. Granted, yes, I understand that they needed the money. Everybody, when they started signing the license, we can license some of our stuff and bail ourselves out. Yeah, okay. But, I think like the original X-Men movie that got shelved and canned and nobody ever can see it again.
Yeah.
Except you can find the bootleg copies that are like bad VHS recordings.
Yeah, but they're out there. Find them. Yeah, they're out there. You go to the dark side of the conventions, where the guys with the long beards that look like they just walked out of Valhalla. Those guys with they're looking around. You're like, hey, come here. I got what you want.
You want that one? Yeah, I got it.
Now I'm not talking about the guys that are like, hey, you ever see some You guys like the hentai? No, you stay away from that creepy guy.
That's too far
Yeah,
down
that's
the dark side.
you've gone too far. Turn around, come back to the light. I'm talking about the guy that's just past the sketchy looking dude that'll sell you loaded dice. You want just past that guy, not you want the land of the chicks in the chainmail. The gals running around in the chainmail bikinis. That's where you want to be.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? That's where we hang out, We have chicks in chainmail BattleTech pods. That's where we're at.
Every year.
And the auctions. You
Yeah.
got to have the auctions.
But the, going down to the thing was, they shouldn't have, the whole reason they did that one was to retain the rights because they had to have a movie in production before this date.
Right, because they have like a 20-year rule where if you haven't done something with a property in 20 years.
I don't even think it's 20 years.
No, I don't think, honestly, anymore, I don't think it is. But you look back, if you haven't done something with a property after so long, and honestly, I think that's why, here a few years back, well, even still today, you start seeing the reboots, the remixes, re-releases. Because let's be honest, how in the hell else did Dukes of Hazzard get made? Scooby-Doo. How did that, something was up for license. We got to do something. Let's grab a bunch of A-list celebrities or B-list. Oh, we can't get that. Well, maybe we can make it passable. Somebody see if Bruce Campbell will do this. Bubba Hotep loved it, but it's a thing. Yeah. Hey, they do it just so that they can hang on to the rights. Honestly, I'm a broke hoe. If I was able to come up with something that I thought was going to make me some money, I might allow a little bit of light. I would allow somebody to make something of it, but as far as me signing my rights, no, that's mine. I thought that up. I'm not going to be Bill Finger. Honestly, hey, and that's let me just open that can of worms real quick. I'm not going to be Bill Finger.
No.
It's mine. I made it. You want to make toys about it? You want to make a movie? That's great. But you know what? You're going to pay my big fat butt to do it. And as far as, them signing stuff away for
in perpetuity.
Yeah, in perpetuity.
I like that word. Perpetuity.
As far as that, and I guess, they got the money that, I could see how somebody might think, somebody that's a bean counter that, well, who are we kidding? The bean counters should have known too. But somebody that's, followed like football or whatever, and they don't realize what they got. They're, oh, well, we can sell it and make this off of it. Sure, let's do that. But they never should have done it.
That was the era of the Frank Castle's movie, the Punisher movie.
Which
with Dolph
Punisher?
Lundgren.
Oh, with Dolph Lundgren? Yeah, you're right. That was your. You know what? That wasn't a bad movie either.
You had Batman that came through and rocked everything.
Well, yeah,
and then everybody was like, "What can we license?"
Yeah, what can we license? What can we let's just
It wasn't the horrible Captain America movie.
Have you ever seen the straight-to-video Fantastic Four movie that was made in the late 80s, early 90s?
Well, that's the one I was talking about. It actually never got released.
Well, it was. I had seen it at down here off the corner. It was at Video Den had it. Yeah, they had a copy of it. Now it might not be we might not be talking about the same one, but it was so cheesy. You got an obvious. Well, of course, it was probably high dollar stuff for back in the day, but didn't look too awful high dollar. You're talking about a foam thing.
Yeah, No, that was it. That they spent they had $1 million budget or something like that, and they were spending, and it was a Roger Corman. What's his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but the King of B movie style, low budget, king of low budget films. He was pulled to direct it or to produce it, and it actually had more of a budget than he'd ever really worked with.
Right.
But it was shelved. The final cuts, they were fighting to get it cut and getting everything done. After it was shot, the rest of the production people, nobody else cared. The editors were like, we need to get this edited. And they're like, what's our date for this?
Whenever.
Yeah,
and
they finally, Even Lee said,
Stanley.
yeah, even he said, "Oh, it was never to be. It was never going to see the light of day."
Well, I mean, if you're talking about something,
it helped them retain the rights, so they ended up putting it in with Fox, getting it through with Fox, and doing the big.
Yeah.
But it kept the original company kept the rights.
And you're talking about when they done one with Fox. That was where we had the sequel, or the original and the sequel redone back in it was around 2000, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
A little earlier or a little later than that.
With the
that, and you had Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Fantastic Four, and then you had the Silver Surfer.
And they weren't too awful bad. I mean, you got Michael Chiklis as the Thing, but and
I actually liked him.
Yeah, I think he done all right. It was a little campy, a little cheesy, but it wasn't as bad as I've seen. I mean,
and then they did the reboot that totally rewrote characters' backgrounds and whatnot. That totally bombed.
Well, yeah, I mean that was your
okay, then So this is Johnny Storm, or is black. She was adopted, or one of them was adopted.
Yeah.
It was like, well, that's not really, but and then it just looked.
It looked like Thor Ragnarok.
Ridiculous.
I mean, well, now it had that kind of dark, gritty visual to it, like you see in the trailer for Ragnarok.
Well, ever since Batman Begins, everybody's just wanted to go, ooh, we need a darker, edgier.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
And I'm surprised.
They did that with Superman, and I was like, that is the exactly wrong character to do a dark, edgy version of, because his whole thing, he's the Boy Scout.
Yep.
He's the polar opposite of Batman, in the sense that you dark, brooding. He is this shining beacon.
He is not supposed to be emo Kal-El, and that's what we wound up with.
So it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, we can't all go dark and sinister and whatever. Batman, yes, you can go a darker vision with Batman, because the psychology there, and dealing with some of the Miller's Batman, Frank Miller's Batman, and some of the ways that it became more, that works with that character.
Yeah, that was. I think that the trilogy they done there with Batman Begins and the Dark Knight, Rise, all that was okay. I mean, I could have done without the I'm Batman. I'm Batman. Take a lozenge, man. You're making my throat hurt. It was dark. It was an interesting. Remember, Tim Burton wasn't he wasn't all bright and shiny either.
No,
Tim Burton, he directed the first two, and you could tell, once they took Tim Burton away from after Batman Return, or was it Batman Returns? Yeah, it was the second one, wasn't it?
I don't know if he actually did the second one. I can't remember.
Yeah, he done the first one
so long ago.
He done the second one, and
when you get into bat nipples is where you lose me.
Well, the third one, because you could tell that it wasn't Tim Burton when you started getting those bright neon colors.
Right.
With the third one, yeah, Robin showed up, and you got pecker tracks on the Batmobile. The first two Batman, 1989, and what was it, 1991?
Something
when
like
he
that.
returned, those were okay. I liked those. Jack Nicholson's Joker, I liked him.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Heath Ledger's Joker.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen Suicide Squad, but I've seen enough clips and stuff that I think Jared Leto's fooling himself.
His Joker is more New 52.
Oh Lord!
It does have a basis in comic book. The whole look, the whole 9 yards is based on comic book, but it's based on the New 52 Joker.
Okay, well, nobody's perfect, I guess.
But I didn't think he did that bad of a job.
he was epic. Everything was epic. That's what I heard. I mean, it's what you read, what you see. Jared Leto epic as epic Joker. He's so epic.
Yeah, he made a good gangster style, which is what the New 52 is. He's more of a gangster style.
Well,
if you're looking at Gotham,
what are we talking about when you're talking about a gangster? Because you say he's new gangster style. Are we talking like a street thug, or are we talking like an original gangster like Jack Nicholson's?
Well, no, you look at like
a Falcone, from Gotham. That's Falcone from Gotham as a gangster. Jared Leto with green hair and white paint and acting epically crazy. To me, that's not a Joker. I mean,
well, I don't know how to explain it. Like, he fit the character from those comic books. If you look at it from a perspective of going back to, the Clown Prince of Crime thing, he doesn't really fit into that. It's before or it's after the stuff that we probably read and kept up on.
He's trying to be a younger.
Not the cut my face off and staple it back on Joker.
Right, he's trying to be a younger, funnier Jack Nicholson type Joker.
More Scarface meets the Joker than
Scarface meets the Joker.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be the staple?
No, I'm talking about like say hello to my little friend.
Oh, okay.
Not the have my face cut off and stapled it back on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess whatever works.
Which they did bring into Gotham, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I've been following that. My wife calls it. She's like, "What are you watching?" I said, "I'm watching Batman, or I'm watching Gotham." She says, "Oh, you're watching your little Batman show." My little Batman show.
He's not even in it.
Yeah, it was like my little Batman show. What do you? I was like, I thought, I didn't know whether to take it personally or not. She's like, "No, Batman's in it." She's like, "Bruce Wayne, and he's like younger, right? So he's a little Batman." I was like, okay, I see what you're saying.
I was about to be offended.
Yeah, I was like, my little Batman show, like I'm going to go get my Batman PJs, and I can't really go too much further with that self-disparaging comment because I just realized that she did buy me a pillowcase that was Spiderman. So I'm going to stop there.
You don't rock out the underoos.
No, I don't know where she got it. I don't know if she got it from like Muncie Tent and Canvas, but she found some sleep pants, and they were Marvel comic sleep pants. Had Iron Man, Captain America. It was great. We wound up, we got like everybody got a pair of Marvel comic sleep pants for Christmas that year, and I rocked them things as long as I could until they threadbare falling apart. And she made me retire them.
No,
it's been long enough. I was like, I don't care. I've got a little bit of coverage right here on the knee. You're scaring the kids. Take them off. Okay.
If I have to.
Yeah.
No, but we digressed a little bit.
Yeah, we started talking about DC instead of Marvel. I mean, I think there's a legion of people outside lining up the pitchforks. Like you guys said, you were going to talk about Marvel comics. Now you've gone to DC. I swear to God, you mention Image, anything, and we're coming for you. Especially, there's a line of people that are still offended by the term Valiant Comics. So,
that's funny.
Before they come and get us and take us away in the little white van.
Well, Spawn.
Yeah, I remember Pitt and Max. I mean. It was evidently one of them was a rabbit or something. I don't know. That was a real head trippy Seth MacFarlane type deal. I don't know. I had the number one. I like issues 1 through 5, and I still don't know what the hell was going on. There was a little girl and a big purple and yellow guy that looked like he had one solid shark tooth Wolverine claw on him. I don't know. There's some blood. And I really don't know what the hell was going on with that. I mean, I could not, at like 14 years old or whatever it was, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I was like, this is just, I have not done enough acid to understand this comic.
Saying it at 14.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Mom ain't listening to this, is she?
No, so I'm talking about weird comics.
Yeah.
I ended up picking like the first 5 up of Witches.
Really?
Yeah. It's not bad. Like, I've never heard of it before.
I haven't either.
It's, I happen to be by the local comic book store.
We're going to the shelf.
Yep.
Here, we're going to...
But I happened to go to the, hit up the local comic book store, and I told him I was looking for something interesting. And
they handed you that. And if my arm was working right, I could reach for that. Well, what in the world do we got here?
So,
Witches. Snyder Jack Hollingsworth, issue 2, second printing. Image Comics.
Is it an Image?
Image Comics, but they're coming for us. You're trying to get me killed. But we're going to take a look at it.
Yeah, let me put down the Batman Endgame.
Rated M for mature. Well, then.
Yeah, I have, in my hand, I have issue 1, or issue 1. You have 2. This is 4. And I have 3 around here somewhere. My Star Wars comic, Game Trade magazine, Avengers.
It's got that new ink, like watercolor ink style.
It reminds me
illustrating to it. It's not bad. I mean,
it kind of reminded me of. You're gonna laugh at me for this, but it kind of reminded me of the old Chill books.
Yeah, I can see that.
But so yeah, I was looking at just going. And they were cheap, so I was like,
that's always a bonus.
I'm like, yeah, well, I'll try it out.
Here we go.
And you know what? It is, like I said, it isn't bad. It's not. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah, it's different. I see we got a gal that's in a wheelchair, and she's got an eye growing out of the side of her head. Now you got something dead out in the woods that gets run over by a bus. It's different.
Well, see, I wanted something creepy.
Well, I think you've attained that.
Huh?
I think you've attained that. What in the world is that? Yeah, I'd say that. I'd say you've got something different, like you wanted.
I said, I've never.
And it's Witches spelled with a Y, Wytches.
Well, you know, and people will be like, "Oh, I love that," or "I hate that," or "I've never heard of it." I thought it was pretty cool. Like I said, I read the first 4 issues.
Right.
The other 3 right beside you, and it grabbed me enough that I read the 4 issues.
Right.
I haven't been back to
get any more yet.
Get any more, but I think I'm going to.
Yeah.
So I guess that's something that can be said about it.
Right.
You know?
Well, I mean, any more, you gotta get something that will keep your attention, and it looks like you have.
You know, and normally, like, just so everybody knows, yeah, I was telling some of the stuff that I have up there with, Batman Endgame and a couple other, like, Avengers and whatnot. But the rest of my comic section is Call of Cthulhu comic and whatnot. So when you say, like, when I say I'm looking for something weird and dark,
it's gotta
fit in with my Lovecraftian.
It's gotta fit the bill. I mean, we're not looking for, like, you know.
Yes, I do like the Batmans and the Avengers and whatnot, but.
Hey, did this come with some free record sheets for $30.85?
What?
Oh, this from Catalyst Game Labs Classic BattleTech.
Oh yeah, that was
in one of the boxes.
Yeah, I grabbed the.
Hey, I ain't mad at you.
I
use what you got.
The one wasn't boarded, so I grabbed the.
Grab the bag.
The bag and the board that came with with the Catalyst stuff that you brought over.
Hey, I don't blame you.
It was like, good, I can finally bag and board it rather than being loose. It's a little big, but
yeah, I was like the Dark Horse comics too. Was if it wasn't a Marvel or I had a couple of DC that I liked, but if it wasn't Marvel, generally it was Dark Horse because I was a big fan of the Predator and the Aliens. Mm-hmm. You know, that was what I wanted to read about.
Yeah. Well, you said Image, so I had to break out my Image.
Right. Image done a lot of different things, and some people hate them, but they also don't hate them as much as they hated Valiant for whatever reason. There's a couple of decent Valiant comics. I used to have, I kid you not, one of those big, not these totes that you get, the Sterilite totes you get now at Walmart, but they used to have foot lockers.
Uh-huh.
The big, heavier duty, had the big, thick rope handles. Bigger than that even. Yeah, probably about that size. The hinged lid, I had that thing full of comics. I don't know how many, and I was collecting ever since like the 80s. So I had duplicates, because you get the ones that, what was that? There was a big thing that went on with the X-Men, and I'm probably going to get chastised for not remembering it now. But there was a big deal, and it wasn't the Infinity War. It was something that was just with the X-Men. But it was going on, and I would buy 2 copies of each one. And you had to get like X-Force, X-Factor, X-Men, and different, so that you had the ones that all interrelated. And so I wind up getting 2 copies, one that I could read and one that would just stay in the plastic, because they were sold from the store. They were sold bagged with cards and all kinds of stuff. So, one bagged set just gets thrown in the tote. Well, not just thrown, but,
Right.
And then I'd read the other one. And I had, I don't know how many hundreds, but I got married. We all know where this is going. That didn't have the room, basically you're intermingling 2 households. I sold the house, and, so now we've got 2 households full of stuff that we've got to make fit in one house. And, a buddy of mine that I used to work with, he was talking about, how his boy was getting into comics, and he'd like to try to find a deal and, get some. I was like, well, I have an entire collection, and I'm not joking, Paul, when I tell you it's a collection. Said, I have an entire collection that I don't have anywhere to put. I said, my son's too young. I don't know if he's going to get into it. And looking back on it now, I should have hung on to it. Because he did get into it briefly for like 5 minutes. But I sold that to him for like $200. And I probably had 10 times that in it, But at the time, it wasn't really a money thing, but it was I need the space. I ain't got anywhere to put this. We can't get in the bedroom. You want stuff to happen in the bedroom, and it can't when you're getting poked in the butt by a comic container, So, you got to get, they say when you grow up, you get rid of childish things. And I don't think it's so much a childish thing as
your whore mouth.
Yeah. I don't. I tell you, and I done that because that's what everybody tells you when
you're sitting in an entire room that's dedicated.
I know. That's what I'm. Let me finish. I was thinking, when I was a child, I played with childish things. When you become a man, you get rid of childish things. You grow up, you do what you're supposed to do. So, I got rid of a lot of stuff just because, it's too much upkeep. I had a ton of Star Trek stuff, and plates that are still, stacked on top of the gun cabinet and protective thing, or in a box in the garage. I had all kinds of this stuff that, before, when I was a single man, it shit was everywhere. It was, I used to have along the top edge of my kitchen, I had empty bottles of everything you could get out of the cabinet or out of the freezer, the little refrigerator thing at the Herat, and Monty Python's Pale Ale, Stafford Lager, the Golden Drock, all that, he had it all up there. And well, then, you got to get rid of stuff, because it's not going to fit. So, either give it to somebody that wants it. I got rid of an entire liquor cabinet, full liquor cabinet, Here you go.
I just would have called people over and said, we need to get rid of this.
Well, I did. I called some folks. I was like, hey, what? Open it up. Like, Pat, what do you want? Bill come over and took a couple of things. I think Brent come over and got the Canadian Windsor or something. There was, trust me, there was nothing left, alcohol wise. And even when we were finally done moving, I had a motor out of a J10 Jeep truck that had come out of a Suburban that I didn't have any use for. Didn't have anywhere to put it. Once we had to clean her garage out to start storing stuff, and I called Bill. Bill's like, "Hey, we gonna do that?" I was like, "Watch you pick it up and put it in your truck, and drive off with it." Okay, I mean, but I say, you they say you put, and this is what you're always told, at least I always was, but when you're a man, you put away your childish things, so. That's why I let that stuff go and got rid of some other stuff. And as time has gone on, some stuff I did keep, but I've eventually thinned out over the time. And I wish the hell I never had now, because some of that stuff I didn't even realize, didn't even think on the level of some of that might be worth something. Mm-hmm. I had an entire box of old Star Trek Season 3 action figures still in the packaging.
Nice.
I don't know if it's worth anything. I ain't picked up a toy fair in years, but, some of that stuff went at a rummage. Somebody got a hell of a deal on my dime, but, hey.
And it ended up in a Gen Con auction or whatever.
Probably.
And it went for big money.
The only thing that I can say I've never gotten rid of as time has gone on since day one. I have never gotten rid of anything role-playing, tabletop RPG related. Now, you got all my BattleTech stuff over here, but that's because we use it,
right.
Well,
so you see my, it's an entire, 6 foot tall bookshelf.
Oh, at least that, yeah.
With board games on top. I still have board games upstairs.
Yeah.
In that closet upstairs that get stacked up. That's as soon as I get all of the moving stuff done.
Right.
I am woefully behind in unpacking boxes.
Make her do it. Women love that stuff, I found.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I was trying, and you've seen one that got me. So
I say women love that stuff in the hopes that my wife is not listening.
And she probably will be.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I love you, honey. I'm sorry for everything that is ever wrong that I've done. From the sinking of the Titanic to whatever it is. No, I don't want to turn it into a plug for my wife, but she's a wonderful person. She put up with me, and
I mean, we bought this house specifically because I run games.
Right.
What did you think of your first time playing on Fantasy Ground with the Auction Cthulhu?
I thought next time everybody better have their ass here. That was my first thought. I mean that. But,
well, I'm talking about play-wise.
But play-wise, no. I really liked that. I mean, I think if I had an updated prescription for my glasses, I'd have enjoyed it a little bit more. But no, I was able to make out most of what was up there, and
most of what you have on your laptop.
Yeah, and everything's on the laptop too. I like that. It makes it. I've always been a huge fan of rolling your own dice, but sometimes it keeps you honest. So I'm okay with that as long as, the dice gods never learn that, they can become electronic and start messing with me that way, because I have every meme or meme or whatever you want to call it, every D&D meme is what I call it, memes. Memes.
Well, everybody's allowed to mispronounce something.
Yeah. Well, every correctly pronounced meme that you see about somebody rolling critical failure or something just absolutely horrible happening to them in a game, that's me. And you know it as well as I do. That's me, because if you can count on one thing, it's that the dice won't like him for long, and when it screws up, it's going to be catastrophic and cinematic history.
Well, what was it? You pulled a 5% roll off.
Yeah.
Pat pulled like a 1% roll off. So it was a good night for increasing your stats.
Yeah.
So you got the chance to actually, when next time we go, we'll be able to now watch. The next time you actually succeed at your roll, and you won't be able to add anything to it because you roll another 4 on your thing for your check.
Well, I had to roll a 5 or under, and I rolled a 3 or a 4.
Yeah.
Something like that. Because I was stunned at first. I thought, well, I blew it, because that's just the reaction I get as soon as you roll it. I'm just assuming that it's going to be a screw up, but I'm always good for some kind of cinematic scene. You know, I'm good for that. You cast grease, and now you flame it. Now the woods are on fire.
Good. I meant to do that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that was the one, like, you brought that up. I don't know how many people actually, because the first time I brought that up to a guy I was playing that was running the game, I said, I was low level, and he put us in an army, thing where it was like army combat, whatever, and we were just on the periphery of it.
yeah.
But Sawed Off Me was like, I jump up on the parapet, and they're like, oh, he's like, okay. And I said, I cast grease over this area. And they're like, all right. Yeah, right where they're like over half the, the little section of troops.
Yep.
And then he's like, okay. So they're slipping and sliding and this, that, and the other. It's okay. Next round comes around, and I go, Flaming Sphere. Roll that bitch through the and,
Yep.
and I was like, right over that grease patch. And he went,
I'll be.
Yeah. So I don't know how to treat that. I was like, well, it catches fire.
Yeah. It's on fire.
Yeah, imagine a buttload of low-level mages taking the wall and just...
Yep.
And one person flame spheres that section and just... Now you have the whole army on fire.
See, that's why, when you can tell who's played for a while and who's new.
Now I'm probably going to get like, that's not right. We played first edition, by the way.
Oh.
Just putting that out there.
Well, it doesn't matter. You can house rule that. I mean, that's, anybody that, when they're first starting off, you don't get nothing. You get some cantrips. You better, you're building up for when you can do, you take grease and hope you're carrying a torch. I mean,
Well, grease and flaming sphere are the same.
Yeah, I
level.
mean, you're pretty much neutered at a low level as a mage, so you got to be able to think on your feet. If not, you're not going to last long, because as much as you want for your fighter to intercept incoming danger that's coming to turn you into mush, chances are it's some poor bastard like me that can't hit for shit. You know what I mean?
We have a story. We had a pocket gnome.
Yeah.
A pocket illusionist.
Yeah.
And she wanted an illusionist. Like, she could do dazzling lights and all that other stuff, but she was no good in a fight, because half the stuff she would do would actually distract the other party members.
Nice.
So they basically went, like, picked her up by the back, moved her out of the way, and then fought.
Yeah.
And she would just sit in the background going, I want to do dancing lights. And I'm like, okay, in what direction? That direction.
No.
And then they would go, I'm over here. Like, that will mess with me. And they're, so there's a lot of bickering back and forth. And so that was the pocket illusionist. Like, she's not even high enough level now still. And they're like almost 10th level for her as an illusionist to do stuff.
To do anything worth doing.
Well, she got placed in a saddlebag.
Right.
And they went off to fight. And one of our characters, not only did they march off into the whatever and not hit anything.
Yeah.
But, like, to the point where they injured themselves a couple times because they were rolling so horribly.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. He buried the sword in the ground, looked at his god, because he happened to be a cleric of Tempest or whatever, and was like, wow, why have you forsaken me or whatever, and then reaches out and grabs a kobold, rolls a 20.
That's a Jim Hill story.
Yeah. Proceeds to beat to death another kobold and a warg with the other kobold. And rolling 20s doing so.
So now, because
I actually had to figure out the damage for a kobold.
Well, now, knowing Jim like I do, my next question then would be, did he try to sheath the kobold in his scabbard?
No,
or did he keep him?
There was nothing left. There was pulp.
Okay, so he didn't try to keep it.
No. It was boom, 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 boom. And then, like, the warg and the kobold both kobolds were dead. He grabbed the warg by the back of the back legs.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the tail would come right off.
and hit somebody else with it, rolling 20s. And then walked over, grabbed his sword, sheathed his sword, and went, "Is that what I got to do?" Like, I can't hit anything with my weapons. I have to. So it's that whole meme, like, beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, and that's funny because then I wind up with the exact opposite sometimes because Pat was running a game. I was playing a paladin. And
I remember that.
Yeah, I was playing a paladin, and I swear all I wanted to do, the guy was screaming, and starting to lose his mind. I just wanted to knock him out. So Pat looks at me. I say, "Well, I'm just gonna smack him." I was like, "Just knock him out a little bit." He said, "Okay, go ahead and roll." And I rolled a natural 20. I killed that man.
Well, you also were wearing gauntlets.
And I didn't think about it at the time that I had the plate mail gauntlets on it. I thought, well, surely. No, I pretty much turned his head all the way around. So I had to put him up. Then you hear these wolves, and I thought, as a paladin, a guy got, oh my Lord, I've accidentally done this. Well, now here these wolves are coming. I don't want his, I don't want his body to be desecrated before he can have a godly burial and all that. So I put him up in the rafters of the barn stall thing, so that they couldn't get to him. And then I get flack from everybody else. They're like, "Yeah, what kind of paladin are you running? You murder a guy and then you hide his body up in the ceiling." I said, "Hey, it just happened that way. I didn't want to roll a natural 20. I didn't roll a natural 20 for
everybody.
Yeah, I didn't roll a natural 20 for the rest of the game. That's I had 120 and then my fumble started. But
yeah, that's funny. Like I didn't mean for that to happen.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was more surprised by it than me because I rolled it and I was like, okay, so I knock him out. Pat's like, no, you just killed him. It's like, what? You're wearing plate armor. Oh God.
Yeah, so your strike does at least a die 8.
Yeah, I mean
times 2.
Yeah,
and if he's not has anything.
Yeah, I pretty much turned him into pulp.
I think he was a level 0 farmer. And you went with hit points of 4.
I put him in a bag and set the bag up on top of the rafter. You can pour him into the ground later, I guess. So
just burn the whole place down.
Yeah. I mean, nothing like when we done 600 floors of the North Tech building.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Jim Hill, the guy we were talking about a minute ago, who beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
Went 10 rounds in the bathroom with Mike Tyson.
And we actually had a dice that was called the Jim Hill head dice.
Yep.
Because anytime you attacked him...
And this was not a loaded dice. This was just magically enchanted or something.
He'd attack anybody else,
Jim.
And it would be random locations.
Yeah.
10-side location. You're looking at Dark Conspiracy, so it's a 10-point location system.
Yep.
And 1 is the head.
And that's what Jim got every single time.
Like, every time.
And it didn't matter who rolled it. I mean, it's not like somebody's rolling it funny or it's weighted. I mean, it wasn't.
Like, I'd roll it for Stafford, and it'd come up arm or leg or torso or whatever. I'd roll it to Jim and headshot. And, well, in fact, another guy they decided that they're going to sneak up this building, so they're going to take some security guard's outfit and their key card, and so they went to the bathroom with the low levels, and we rolled to see if security guard would come in.
It was a brilliant plan.
And the first guy came out. He came in. He was using the restroom. The guy came out, knocked him out.
Yep.
One shot, knocked him out. Rolled perfect, everything. Guy went down. He drug him in. Started changing clothes. Jim was like, I can do that. I can do that. So I'll wait for the next guy. And it's like, okay. So we waited some time, and another security guard comes in, and because the roll said it did, and goes up there and he pulls this thing out and is peeing in the thing, and he's good and focused in the fact he's relieving his bladder, and Jim sneaks out of the toilet stall and goes to hit him and misses. And it happens so fast that this guy doesn't put anything away. He just spins around, and I said, "You can throw one more punch, and then we'll start round, whatever." And he throws it, and he misses. The guy jacks him in the face.
Like
rolls it,
Mike Tyson.
Rolls rolls a one location, hit in the face.
Peed on the whole time.
Peed on the whole time. And, okay, you swing. He missed in the head. One more shot. And okay. It got to the point where he was literally 4 hit points away from unconscious by being beat in the face from this guy who's peeing all over him.
10 rounds.
Finally, he lands a couple blows and then bounces his head off of the wall and gets him, dragged back in. But it's now, he's now dressed up as a guard. His face is purple, black, and blue, and it's like.
Yeah, I think we had to find a helmet or something to put on him to.
I was like, you had to put the hat on and do this.
At this point, it would have looked better if if the rest of us would have just been dressed as guards and had him in handcuffs carrying him around,
Right. Well, it's the silly stuff that happens when you're playing.
It makes great cinematic moments. I mean, sure, it's not a movie, but imagination. You think of the.
Oh yeah.
And
that's why I like playing the games.
Yeah.
You won't have that. Every game has its moment, and everybody looks back on. Oh, do you remember that? That was awesome.
He came and he went. I've seen that happen twice now. I've ceased to exist in a fine red mist.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't know how many times I've been plot monkeys in a Cthulhu game where I just had to hand over. I'm like, well, I'm done, Don't trust the Indian with the crazy drink and the smudge on the forehead.
But there's a lot of things. I mean, that's why I get into those games, though. And that's why if you look on the thing, you have a large section of D&D. We got chill. I even have the Indiana Jones box, TSR box, that everybody was like, that sucks. But I got it.
Well, I mean, just because, what is it that sucks about it?
I don't know. I haven't been able to play it yet.
Well, I mean, is it something that looked like a rule? Or
it looked fun, and being an archaeologist, I was like, oh, yes, I have to have the Indiana Jones.
Well, and something that we learned real quick when we were adapting rules for, the Cthulhu Live LARP for, using it with a system like you run into in Mind's Eye Theater, rules can be changed. I mean, we can rewrite that whole thing and just do house rules. Mm-hmm. So if something doesn't work, we can fix it. It's a lot of people. They'll hear, well, this game's okay, but this and this and this sucks. Well, change it. Do something different. You're not confined by that. If you don't like the spirit, if you agree with the spirit of what they're doing, but you don't think that the technique that they're doing, there's nothing stopping you from changing it. Now, sure.
And speaking of which, I know you guys had separate rules than what I did, but I've modified the Cthulhu Live 3rd edition.
Yeah.
The skirmisher set to the storyteller system, which is the Mind's Eye rock paper scissors thing. For my own game, and it was more of a Harper's Ferry meets Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Which made it interesting,
Right.
And they loved it. And eventually, if I can find all of the PDFs that I worked out for it, I'm going to put that into the thing and put it up on the website.
Well, yeah.
For free,
Yeah.
Because, as long as we don't charge for it,
I mean, I don't know how many people across the country are even still doing live action role playing anyway.
There's a lot. Right now, they're doing a thing called Dystopia Rising.
Oh, okay. I don't know anything about that.
That's a post-apocalyptic zombie game.
Okay.
You're talking about 500-600 years in the post-zombie apocalypse.
Okay.
You got Merkins and
Merkins,
Bostonians or whatever. You have these different groups of people that a Jones is basically an archaeologist type. They go through the rubble and find stuff and try to get it back to working order type stuff. But it's a boffer LARP.
A what?
A boffer LARP.
Boffer.
Yeah, they beat each other with foam.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're one of those. Like the lair from Role Model. The Role Models. That was pretty funny.
But it costs you $50 a game. It's a 3-day weekend on location, and it's total immersive. So like, attacks happen at 3 a.m.
Wow.
Type stuff. Like you're there for the entire weekend for $50, and you're in character the whole time.
Well, that would be an interesting thing to observe. I don't know if I'd be on board for that, because at 2 a.m, something comes at me looking like a zombie, it's liable to get shot. But hey.
But they have people who play, do the whole thing. And the whole purpose behind it is the reason you pay so much and whatnot is to have the money to do the immersive experience, to have like the better equipment, the everything, to where you forget almost that you're.
Well, and I'm sure there's an expense of the venue too, because you can't just
go
camping in
like
a state
camp.
forest and.
Well, most of them happen at like camps and whatnot.
Well, I don't know what my response to that would be if I was out camping and I heard somebody getting attacked at 3 a.m.
Well, no, you're not talking about like campground. I'm talking about summer camp style camp.
Oh, okay, yeah, like Kick the Wee Nun or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
I always called it Cake-a-weenie.
Yeah.
Kick-a-weenie.
I could see that. That might be interesting to observe. Like I say, I don't know if I'm up for it because, I need my sleep.
I even went as far as, like, I got my outfit. Like, I'd come up with the whole thing. I was the something Jones. They actually said, I was talking to people and they said, based on my personal background, it was like, oh yeah, you could do this, this, and this, and here's your whole character. And I'm like, okay. And so I got my outfit and I grabbed each half of a military tent.
Yeah, pup tent.
You know how like the one half
The
is a
two halves,
lean-to
yeah.
or whatever, and you put them together and you make a two-person tent.
Mm-hmm.
I spent the money on one of that. Got a backpack, all that stuff. Never went.
Well,
I was like, eh.
Well, I mean, it's something that you might use in the future.
They allow you to have a fire pit. As long as it's one of the above ground fire pit things, you can actually put that in front of your tent and call it your fire plate, whatever. So you actually build fires and whatnot. And I was like,
you just can't dig a hole in the dirt.
Well, you can't do anything that destroys the thing, but you can do it to where, because you would have a fire in front of your
right.
But it was definitely interesting. Everything I read, and you can buy you can get the book for free.
Right.
But to play, it costs you money. And all associated games where you can go back and forth are all connected. So they only license the game, and it costs a lot of money to license the game to run it. But you get in like some online thing, and plots are like nationwide plots go through, and you can run. It's like the Camarilla back in the day.
Yeah.
But way more expensive. Like, you can open a cam game as long as you have the troops.
I was going to say, man, didn't we just pay $5 for the GDU?
Yeah.
I mean,
but like
when we were doing
like the licensing for a Dystopia Rising game is like $5,000 or something like that.
What is it that makes them think that it's worth that much? The company, I mean.
Well, that's how they make. I mean, they have a nationwide thing. They have games all over the place, and that are all connected.
To me, when you have something that is charging that much money, I mean, sure, you should make some money off your product, but
they don't sell the books. It's the licensing fee for the game to run in the connected chapter.
Oh, okay. So you could run one and it not be connected with anything.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then,
But you won't have you probably won't. You won't have all of the stuff that they bring to it and whatnot. Like which depending on how you do it,
Well, you only need to know what the difference between a connected game and a non-connected game is, right? It's just whether or not you follow their plot line, right? Is that what I'm?
Yeah.
We just do everything except follow their damn plot line. Money saved. No, I'm serious. I mean that.
Well, I mean, part of the stuff is like they get you get some props, item cards, and all this other stuff that go in for that thing. They get you set up. Basically, it sets you up for creating a total immersive theatrical event.
Right.
That's what the money goes for.
So, okay, and in much the same way that the Camarilla was the official thing back in the day, and we formed the GDU, and then the GDU just didn't run cam stuff because we didn't like that.
Right.
Somebody could do the same
totally
thing.
Ignored the end, the Gehenna plot line over there, because
ridiculous.
That would end our game.
Yeah, but
none of us wanted to go to the new one.
Right, and but somebody could do the same thing with this.
Well, they could, and I think that there are maybe some places that do.
Yeah, and then if you pay, instead of paying $50 a game, you might pay $20. Because what was wasn't there a charge for a cam game? It was like $20,
something like that.
And then we were charging
played
$5.
In a couple of them.
Yeah, there was the one that me and you went to that a buddy of mine down in Indy was associated with that we played in, and then there was one that I went when I first heard about it down there with him and observed one of his, and then I knew you were up here running this, and then I just got into it up here, and I was your plot monkey for a while.
Well, yeah, anybody of power had to be had to be a plot monkey.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just goes with the territory. I still get a shiver coming down Bethel when I get to like about 200. I'm like, it's Martok. It's just Martok. I will. I mean, I don't know what it is. It's like I got PTSD from that game.
I let somebody take my city, all the information, and they nerfed half of it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And I threw a one-off after that. And I said, I called it because the whole chapter was Fade to Black.
Yeah. I know the very last game I got to play Martok. I was all right with that.
But I called it was like Junction City back in black or whatever was the name of the one-off, and it was just a Halloween thing. I got everybody together.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was just a stupid massive combat.
Yeah. You got a lot of old scores that never got settled. That we're coming back for one time. I'm gonna smoke your dome.
And I was like, it doesn't have anything to do with him. He ran Junction City. He did all this stuff after I got done with it. But
who took it?
Shanzi.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And but I was like, because he was running Madison County,
right?
And he ended up running Madison County by night and having a whole thing. So he wanted Junction City as part of that thing because he liked what I had set up. But eventually he moved on Marduk, so he didn't have to deal with the 5th gen NOS that lived in the sewer type deal.
Yeah.
He didn't have
Well, let's face it. That dude was your big red reset button.
Oh, he was.
And once you handed me the character sheet, I was like, yeah, okay. you just tell me that you just let me off the chain with this, and we'll just go ahead and reset this game right now.
Well, it's just one of those things. It's like, because we started it was a small troop game, and I had to basically show everybody the ropes.
Yeah, you did.
And he was the character that everybody came in and did whatever, and this, that, and the other, and then whoever... They're like, I'm going to claim Prince. And I was like, okay. So you go and do this. It was basically, the city didn't have any, wasn't Cam, it wasn't Sabat, it was the Wild West. And when somebody said, we're going to make this as Cam City, we're going to do this.
And as I recall, that was the reason that I played Maximilian, the assassin, that was supposed to deal with that particular individual that was supposed to be taking the city, And I cut that. What was it?
So the first 3 years of that game was just basically shoring up the Camarilla side of that city.
Yeah.
So like, Marduk would make his appearances, and people would be led through the labyrinth of things down to a room, make sure that they're totally confused on how to get out of there.
Yeah.
And like you'd see like everything was wired in with closed circuit television.
Yeah, it was like that thing in Batman.
Elysiums and all of that stuff. Everything the whole town was wired. Walls full of monitors. And with him sitting in the middle going, "What did you want?"
Yeah.
That type of thing. It was my way of saying, I will lead you through this as a player, but...
Yeah. You're being watched, and you got to figure out what to do with it when you got it.
Yeah. It was like, he will help you out for a hefty price.
Yeah, it's going to cost you something.
So you have to start building your influences. You got to start doing your thing. If you don't want to start owing like 37 boons to the guy in the sewer, you can take the cheap way out.
Yeah.
But in the long run, that's going to be more costly than.
Well, I always found too was, there's just some things you didn't have to worry about because Martok was there. As when I was playing the Prince, when Charles was, I knew, oh wait, they're going to attack by sewer. Yeah, okay, I'm not going to worry about that. they're going to the sewer. Oh, okay, well, we don't have to. We need to go after them. No, you don't have to worry about that. The sewer handles its own thing. We don't even know.
Well, what's funny is like he'd eaten so many people.
Yeah.
That he had so many different powers. Because he had to survive. I mean,
right.
You look at a 5th gen sitting in the sewer of a Wild West town. Like, I built him as he was the guy who survived.
Right. Well, and there was a certain thing with him, too. That
Sirbat rise up, he ate his way to being able to survive. So you
right.
walk down there, it got really dark.
Yeah. And tentacles came out of nowhere like a bad hentai movie.
Yeah, and he's a distant os. But he ate enough people and worked his way through that he could do all that stuff.
And the thing with him, too, was that, when I'd sit back as Prince, I'd think, unless he's actively doing something, I don't have to worry about him. If he's got a problem with something, he's going to let me know.
Or he'll handle it and you will never know.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, so...
There's actually several characters who got on his bad side that were never heard from.
Yeah. And
nobody raised a stink about it. They're like,
well, that's because half of them were jackholes.
I don't know.
I mean, they weren't missed anyway.
It's like, where did so-and-so go? I don't know. Maybe he went back to Capital City.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. And some of them, they just they weren't worth it to begin with, so you don't worry about them anyhow.
Well, we got off on a diatribe.
Yeah, we did.
It has been an hour.
Well, that will probably be about the indication of the end of this particular episode. And
that's what happens, though, when you get in a good conversation.
Yeah.
It goes really, really quickly. It normally starts out really slow for us anyway. Like, we're like, oh, my God, it feels like we've been talking for like, a half hour. It's only been 10 minutes. And then by the time at the end of it, you're like, oh, my, that was an hour?
Yeah. I mean, but, there too, we did a half-hour dry run earlier. So, and to think I was worried about branching when we started over, because I went off on a serious Lord of the Rings branch earlier, and I got completely confused myself what his question was, couldn't find my way back, total train of thought derailment.
And that's when I looked down and went, oh, well, we're not recording anyway, so you're good. You got to start all over.
So now we've discussed the Marvel thing, we've discussed DC, Image, Valiant, what'd you call it? That boffer? Dystopian Rising.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about some other stuff.
Our old days in the not Camarilla GDU Vampire of the Masquerade games.
But you can join the discussion with us, go to the Facebook page and just click groups. Right there is the whole conversation. We removed all of the membership stuff from the website, and we just made it a GPR, Geek Public Radio group. You can talk, let us know what you think. You can do anything you want to in there. Within reason, we have just a few rules. No religion, no politics, and everybody has to play fair, or play nice.
He has to remind me of every one of those about every 15, 20 seconds. He's actually got flashcards he holds up because he'll see me start heading in one direction. No. Oh, okay.
But yeah, so go on there and talk about it. It is a, the whole goal is a drama-free place. If you want to complain about comic book movies, that's a good place to go. If you want to talk about promoting your game, what you got coming up, looking for players, that's a great spot. If you want to look for a group, you can always form a group there. All that stuff is open. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about, as long as it doesn't cover religion, politics, or calling each other names and being just mean about it.
I'm going to make a special request.
What?
If anybody out there is an intellectual property lawyer or has any, professional ideology on what we were discussing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Sony's and Marvel's interactions, different sandbox. If anybody's got an opinion, I'd like to hear that. I'd be interested in hearing from somebody that's actually got more than just a chip on their shoulder and a gleam in their eye.
Well, no, if you have that, Facebook.com/Geek Public Radio, click the groups, and we're in there. Even if you're not, if you just your opinion on anything we talked about tonight, let us know. But this is Topher. That's Stafford.
Yep.
And we hope you have a great night.
Good night.